Welcome to Stuff You Missed in History Class, a production of iHeartRadio. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Holly Fry.
I'm Tracy B. Wilson.
We're laughing because apparently I'm on another planet today. My timing of things is weird. I'm having a moment. I don't know what to tell.
Yeah, we're recording in the afternoon, which is not typical.
Yeah.
I'm just back from some time off during which I forgot how to do anything involving my job. And I also have a newly issued work computer, which has thrown everything off.
Listen, I'm also just excited and wiggly because we have behind the scenes where we get to talk about one of my favorite things, which is patterns and sewing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of a giant sewing project right now. I'm making a wedding dress for a friend. So I'm like sewing all the time when I'm not doing my job. And that just makes me want to talk about sewing all the time. We talked about so much stuff in this episode.
It was a lot.
I have so many things to comment on. Have you, you mentioned, I think it was while we were recording, your mom having various tools to do scaling up of patterns. Have you ever done it?
I have not.
Ooh, it's a pain in the tuchus.
It seemed like it would be.
I don't like it.
So my mom taught me to sew with patterns. So I learned the things like figuring out what size you are and, how to cut out that size from the pattern. And we always saved the pattern for future use. So I probably could have, if I was trying to make something from a pattern I had used before, but I had gone up a size, I might have been able, with my mom's help, to work that out. But the idea of, starting from a sort of template and turning that into a thing that needed to be sized up for a person, that would have relied on some skills that I struggle with. And I never got that far. I don't know that I would have needed to get that far in my sewing education, but I did not.
Yeah. I remember once getting into a long and protracted argument on a sewing and costuming message board. That's how far back we're going. That I ran with someone because I had mentioned I had made a garment for Brian, a historical, a Victorian coat. And I was like, hey, this is an easily gettable pattern. And this one person was just adamant that I should not be recommending people use modern patterns. I should only be recommending that they hand draft from existing pattern. And I was like, okay, cool. Yes, that's more accurate. But that is something that not everybody has the skill or interest in doing. And they were like, anyone can do it. You just have to learn it. And I'm like, anyone can, but not everybody wants to. And it just went on and on for a month of back and forth. I should have just tapped out earlier, but it was making me crazy. Anyway, scaling up patterns is a big pain in the tuchus. And I will say this relates to the koalas, which are an ongoing process, right? I have made one of the koalas. I have the fabric for the others and haven't gotten to them yet because of this wedding dress progress.
If you're like, what are these koalas? Because you haven't listened to all of the episodes recently.
Yeah, this is a pattern that existed in a magazine from my youth.
Yes.
That I wanted to make of these plush Christmas koalas and their clothes. And I was obsessed. And then I didn't ever find the pattern again. My mom said they were a little too complex for me, but I yearned for them. And when she died, I went through all her stuff, all her sewing stuff, trying to find it. And I couldn't find it. And then I magically found it eventually, thanks to an Etsy seller who had scanned in all the pages of this magazine and also had tagged them all. So Christmas koalas popped it up. Anyway.
Yeah. So if you didn't hear that earlier episode, now you're caught up on the koalas.
I have it. The koalas are ongoing. I have not posted an update lately, but I'm posting them on Instagram because they're so fun. But one of the things that really tickled me about it was that I benefited from the years that have gone by, the 40 years since when the magazine was published, because now I can just pop those pattern scans into Photoshop or another editing thing, blow them up to the right size, and then print them right out. Granted, that's for a plush thing, not a full-size garment, but you could also do it for a full-size garment. You would just have to tape your print pieces together or take them to a specialty printer. But
yeah.
That is an avenue that is now available for people that wanna do things that were drafted and printed long ago.
Yeah.
One of the things that was really awful back in the old days, and I have dealt with some of these, is that to save on paper and page name numbers, sometimes you would get these in a book and multiple pattern pieces would be overlaid over each other, and you
Oh,
would have to
no.
figure out which line went to which one and, like, draft it from the
My head hurts thinking about
It
that.
was awful. It was awful. I did a couple and I was like, "Whew, this is rough. This is
Yeah.
rough stuff." There's a really funny it tickled me, it may tickle no one else. We talked about the Queen and Lapsey tailoring book and how they would, go on and on about their thoughts on various garments. But one of the things that tickled me was that they had this one section that was just on breeches.
Okay.
And it just started with some practical observations on the theory and practice of making breeches. This delicate and necessary appendage to dress requires more comment than the trade would perhaps really imagine. Chiefly owing to the great variety of materials of which they are composed, according to the choice and approbation of various customers, and that they may suit the purpose. Basically, they're like, we know you don't want to talk about underwear, but we really have to. I just love that. I thought it was the funniest thing ever.
I like how this passage clearly had the long S's that look like F's, which always makes it more funny to me.
Yes.
And I also am just thinking about how my grandma would have called that britches.
Yeah, many people would.
I still sometimes say britches, so yeah.
Yeah. And those get into like different, right? The terminology shifts a little bit because for a long time that would have been underwear,
Yep.
but also that gets used for pants
Yep.
nowadays. Like
I would think of britches as pants
Where you
nowadays
wearing
for
your
the most part.
you don't have your
but
britches on. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You can't leave the house.
Yeah.
You got no britches on. I feel you. But I just thought that was a hoot.
Mhm.
Listen, you can still find great underwear patterns, by the way. Love them.
Mhm.
Love them. Because that's a great way to burn through fabric overages and your scraps.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I have a 1940s little undies pattern that I make all the time. One of the cool things that has happened in terms of preservation is that because most of these patterns that were printed on it at full size from the beginning were printed using acid-free tissue paper, is that
Mhm.
they haven't broken down.
Oh, nice.
So there are quite a few that exist in, like, repositories and museums and whatnot. I wouldn't unfold them and use them,
Sure.
but they're there, and they
Yeah.
have been preserved in various ways, which is kind of nice because we get a really clear view of some of it. Have you ever heard of, or did you ever encounter when you were sewing, the Butterick Walkaway Dress?
I don't think so.
I love this dress. Here's why. There's a cool factoid, which is that in 1952, this dress pattern was so popular that Butterick shut down production of all of its other patterns and was running only this pattern on its presses until they could get all of the back orders fulfilled that they had, because there were so many people that wanted to make this dress.
Mhm.
And the reason why is that it's the simplest dress on earth. There are only 3 pattern pieces to it. The front looks kind of like the front of like a column dress, like a slightly tailored columnar dress, right? Like a straight up and down, straight skirt, very simple, some darts to create the bust seaming and whatnot. But then the back has the second pattern piece, which is the top of the back, like the back bodice,
Mhm.
and then the lower piece, which is a very fluffy skirt, and it's wide enough that it wraps around the front and it usually buttons right there at the front at the waist, and so it creates, with only that one closure, a dress that's super easy to make, super easy to put on. I've known a lot of people that do retro stuff that still make these, and they'll do them reversible so you can pack for an event and you have 2 dresses in one.
Nice.
This pattern has been reissued many times. You can buy it now. It's readily available. Maybe if you're gonna order it directly from the website, do that now, because I don't know how long that's gonna be around.
I've definitely for sure seen this pattern package.
You have. I guarantee
Yeah, I
it.
just Googled it.
Yeah.
Definitely for sure. But I
Goodie.
don't
It's a
think I've
goodie.
made it. Yeah.
It's a goodie. If you're me and you're a bit hippie and you decide to make it, you want to extend that front piece a little bit wider because it kind of wraps around your front hip and usually ties, or some people do like an elastic, like a button-in elastic at the back. But like for me, if I just make it as sewn, I tend to have gaps at the side because my hips are wide, but you can always alter it. And then once you have your pattern down, you can just churn out like multiples like a uniform.
Mhm.
That was why that one quote about why not just cut out 6 or 12 shirts at a time? It's really easier. I'm like, yes, it is. That's how I survived in like my 20s in terms of having clothes. And even in college, it would be like, I'm making a dress.
Yeah.
I'm going to make 3 of this dress because I don't want to mess with pulling patterns out over and over. I would just lay out layers and layers of fabric at a time and cut everything at once. The best. Here's another fun factoid that I ran across. Ray Bradbury used to write for McCall's magazine.
Mhm.
I love that. Because the magazine would include, in addition to things about clothes, it would include fiction pieces as well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Eleanor Roosevelt wrote for McCall's for a long time. Super duper interesting. There was also a mention in an obituary for Joseph Shapiro, who founded Simplicity, that he had a sign that he kept on his desk, which tickled me. And that sign read, "Fools invent fashions, wise men follow them." And I'm
Okay.
like, I wish I could travel back in time and ask him what he thinks that's actually saying, because
Right.
is he like basically saying, I did this smarter because I wasn't trying to reinvent anything. I was trying to make it more easily accessible for people. Like, are you saying that wise men follow the fools or they follow the fashions? I'm not sure.
Yeah. The same mental question.
Yeah, I have many questions. I love it. I will say, for any of our listeners that are stitchers or sewists, or however they choose to identify, that are chagrined about the possible end of, or even if they continue, I imagine there will be big changes of the big main commercial pattern companies. There is a world now of independent pattern companies that are,
Mhm.
many of which are fantastic. There are ones that specialize in retro patterns. There are ones that specialize in like really, really like simple shape, easy to make knits. There are ones that specialize in almost anything you could want. So if you haven't ever ventured into that world, I would, take a look around because there's some pretty good stuff out there. Now we have to talk about the elephant in the room,
Which is what?
Berta patterns.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to.
Okay.
There's some Nazi problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, the founder of Berta Patterns got involved with the Nazi party, and when you one, it's a different game than this. It was, going on in Germany, but two, I didn't find a satisfactory examination of that situation
Okay.
because the few attempts at biography are all very, well, like, he didn't believe in it. It was just good for business. It was a way to make his business continue and survive. And I'm like, keep thinking about that quote of like, if there are 10 people at a dinner table and one of them is a Nazi, they're all
Mhm.
essentially Nazis because that's poison. And if you're not calling it out, you're letting it happen. So I just was like, I'm not even going to get into this. It's a whole big,
Mhm.
there could be a day in the future, I don't know how far along, that we would talk about that whole thing. If I can find more examination
Yeah.
of
More
it.
interrogation of all that.
Yeah, that isn't so like, he's just trying to get by. And I'm like,
Right.
you were in the Nazi military. Like,
Mm.
and it wasn't like he was 17 and was
Oh,
conscripted.
sure.
He was a businessman at that point. I don't know what his lived experience was. I haven't done enough research, but also I'm like, ooh, this makes me really uncomfortable. So that's what's up with that. Anyway, sewing, all the time sewing. I love it. I love it. I
Mhm.
like it. This is actually a funny thing because people throughout my life, because I have always sewn. I
Mhm.
started sewing when I was 3. So I don't remember how to not sew.
Mhm.
Um, But people always assume that if you sew, you love sewing. Like the joke among anybody, and I'm sure you've run into this, is that like now there are a lot of shirts that say, "No, I won't hem your pants." Because
Okay.
people think that if you sew, you just love to sew. You want to put anything under a needle and stitch it. And it's like,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah.
And I always tell people it's not so much that I love to sew, it's that I love having clothes and a lot of them
Yeah.
and clothes that are unique.
I do often enjoy sewing and making things. But I have also had some sewing disasters that were, like, so upsetting and so frustrating that I can't put it all into the category of, "I love this," you know?
Yeah.
And it's also something that I have not done with any kind of regularity in a long time, in part because I live in New England and we don't have a lot of space.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely had some disasters, and I love doing creative stuff, but I definitely see sewing as a means to an end, right?
Mhm.
I want a porg that is tropical colors. Well, nobody's gonna make that. I gotta make them myself. Like,
Sure, sure.
I want, a crazy looking dress that has
Yeah,
droids all over it that is
yeah.
kind of a ball gown. Nobody's gonna make that. I have to make it myself.
I also think my relationship with this has been affected by the fact that I learned to sew in elementary school ages, and I was in 4-H and I was in brownies, and we did all of these things that involved sewing and quote handicrafts. And as I got to an age where other kids didn't think that was cool, I cared a lot about what other people thought of me,
Yeah.
no matter how much I tried not to care about what other people thought of me. I really did care. And I got to an age that I was being bullied for wearing clothes that I had made myself to school, and that hampered my desire to continue doing it.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
And this is something that the fact that you did not care what anybody thought of you ever is something I have always admired about you, because that is a skill that I have never developed for myself.
I did at some point. But then I think I've said on the show, I remember the exact day that I stopped caring,
Yeah.
where I just was like, I won't say the phrase that I like to say because it has bad words in it, but I just was like,
Sure.
I don't trust these people's taste. What am I worried
Right.
about? But I did kind of a flip of what you just described, where when I was younger, and my mom made a lot of my clothes, I hit a moment where I was like, please stop making my clothes. Like other
Uh-huh.
kids comment on it.
Right.
And then by the time I was like 13, 14, I was like, I'm making all my clothes, and I
Yeah, yeah.
loved wearing my weird stuff. So
Yeah.
I just hit a different moment,
Yeah.
and I still love making all my weird stuff.
Yeah.
Now we're in the dangerous zone where you can, design your own fabric and have it printed and make your weird clothes out of that. And it's brilliant. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it to pieces. It's the best. It's the absolute best. Yeah, I just love sewing. If this is your weekend coming up, I could tell you what I'll be doing, and it's sewing because I got to finish this project. But whether you're sewing or not, I hope if you have time off that you get time to do whatever it is that you like or that makes you feel peaceful or fulfills your creative urges. If you don't have time off, maybe you can sneak some of that kind of stuff in. Listen, it's also perfectly cool if you just want to sit on the couch and watch TV all weekend. I'm not going to judge. Those are great weekends sometimes. If you are out in the world, I hope everyone you encounter is kind to you and that everybody's cool.
Yeah.
We are going to be right back here tomorrow with a classic episode, and then on Monday we will have something brand new.
Stuff You Missed in History Class is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.